Alright, welcome to round 9 of the FRL Division 1 Championship. Here we are at the halfway point at the streets of Baku as we get ready for a short qualifying, followed up by a sprint and the feature race. And as you can see here, conditions are, well, to put it bluntly, miserable for the drivers involved. It's just fully wet here, and Baku, in general, is a tough track to navigate around, let alone in wet weather. We have wet weather in Singapore as well, so it seems like the weather's really hitting the hardcore street circuits. So next season when we inevitably go to Monaco, let's hope we don't have rain there as well. But at the moment we have a few drivers making their way through on hot laps. Now, as for the weather, their weather is going to change and adjust over time. It's fully wet right now, but going into the sprint race, it is going to be wet, then going into the dry weather, and then the main race is going to be all dry. Oh, and Wolfer there, he locked up heavily. Oh, and that's just going to ruin his lap. He's going to have to make another run at it. Now, of course, drivers can make a bit of a gamble going with a wet, dry, or kind of in-between setup. And choosing your setup is pretty important. Now, I suspect most are going to go for a dry setup because, well, the latter part of the sprint is going to be dry and the feature race is going to be dry. So I would think it would be in their best interest to go for a full dry setup. Some may try a mixed one. And, well, of course, if you go for a rain setup or mixed setup, you're going to be applying more downforce. And downforce is going to be costing you a lot on one of the longest straights on the calendar. So it's very important to choose your setup wisely because it can easily make the difference between you finishing at the top of the podium or all the way at the back. But speaking of this circuit, the Baku City Circuit boasts in total 20 corners to make your way around massive straights in the latter half of Sector 3 and Sector 1. But a lot of tricky corners, especially in Sector 2, the famed castle section, where, well, you'll want to be careful, otherwise you'll end up calling yourself stupid like a certain Ferrari driver in 2019, not naming any names, let's face it, you know who it is. But it's going to be difficult for these drivers to navigate, especially with the dry setups. They're going to have to brake way earlier than they think they would, and so they're going to have to play their cars very carefully. Otherwise, you're going to send their car into the wall, and well, that's the last thing you want to do around here, especially if cars are coming up fast behind you, because that can easily ruin you. Joining me in the commentary box today is going to be Nakins. So Nakins, what do you make of this circuit? Oh wait, before that actually, Tiller Boss has crashed going through those remaining corners of the back straight. Oh, yeah, he's completely done. But sorry about that. Nakins, what do you make of this track?
To be honest, I quite more enjoy it in the wet, because in the wet, you don't really try to go super duper hard, try to super duper push in the wet. At least it's for me. I feel like it's a lot easier in the wet than the dry, because the dry you're trying to always keep pushing all the time, and you might screw up and break the front wing, like I did quite a few times in the Div 3 race. But it's a fun. This is probably my favorite track on the entire game. I'm not the best at it, but it's probably my favorite.
Indeed, this track, it is honestly really fun to navigate your way around. It's a technical track, but a lot of the corners and sharp areas and all that, it makes for a very exciting track to run around. And that massive straight provides very entertaining racing, which I hope we're going to see going into the sprint and the feature race. At the moment in the session, Envy's leading by a pretty decent margin, but the two Alpines are still very close behind. And I imagine they're going to be looking to improve further. Tiller Boss, unfortunately, is not going to be able to improve at all. And actually, as long as we're looking at some of the drivers here, we're missing a face. Pink is not present today, but in his place, we do have Wonder Toast, and I think he's going to be looking to prove himself. At the moment, he's not doing half bad, but Henny and Sugi, have they both retired already? Sugi, I think, retired in the pits. I could be wrong. And Henny, I think, retired in the pits as well? I don't see any signs of crashing. Could you confirm, like, just check with the race director and see if they just retired in the pits, or was it terminal damage?
Terminal damage for Sugi and Henny.
They, wow, it didn't even show them. Their car must have, like, despawned immediately then.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Henny's teammate manages to go 4th overall. Even though Henny crashed, he is still 5th overall, and because it's short qualifying, he's not going to drop down anywhere. So, honestly, that has done him a whole load of favors. But you can bet a lot of these drivers are going to be looking to improve. Wolford certainly will, after locking up on his first attempt and just completely bottling his lap. He's looking for another run at it. Oh, and the car ahead of him broke off part of their front wing. That could actually impede Wolfer, but they're doing well to get out of the way, at least somewhat. But Wolfer's down by over 2 seconds, so he's actually probably on an in-lap then. Meanwhile, Rogue is making his way through. He's already found a couple tenths of improvement, but the key is going to be this back straight and navigating these corners as aggressively as you can without, of course, hitting the wall, which, in my conditions, easier said than done. But he's all...
Rogue gets a purple sector there.
Yeah, that's over a second of improvement. That's gonna put him... At the moment, he's...
Oh, when he hits the wall.
Oh, that's gonna slow him down a little bit.
That's gonna fuck him up.
Yep, that's gonna put him maybe ahead of Yeti. I guess we're gonna find out as he crosses the line. It's gonna be cutting in close. But he does manage to beat him and improve even further. A solid lap from Rogue. Goes 8th overall.
Also, another thing you said, Wonder Toast, him filling Pink's seat. I'm excited to see Wonder Toast because the last time that I commentated something was the Div 1 France race, and he was in that too, and he wrecked out. So I want to see what he can do. Still, it's the same from that race. I really want to see what he can do in Div 1. So I'm excited to see him this race. You know, P12 right now, he probably could improve a bit more, but
yes,
I'm just excited to see that.
Yeah,
and also all these other people that are filling in for Div 1, like Burger and Harmony, maybe, I think.
And DK.
Kermit, DK.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, speaking of wrecking out, like you just said a moment ago, Gio unfortunately has suffered the same fate as his teammate. He actually crashed out going through those final 2 corners, just like Killer Box did. Still, the 2 Avatari drivers are 4th and 5th, but the fact that they're crashing out like this in Quali does not bode well for the race. Meanwhile, Prid bumps up to 1st overall in the Haas. He's also reserving, and he's putting in incredible times. I think with his recent performances, Prid, yeah, I was about to say, exactly that. Prid is really, with just his sheer performance level, has been putting in a strong argument for him going to Div 1. And meanwhile, Wolfer goes ahead as well. And honestly, I think it's track evolution starting to talk a little bit there. Because all these drivers are going through and they're clearing water a little bit, which is making the track a little bit easier to navigate. And that is going to change over time. But meanwhile, we have Kermit going through. He's actually reserving in the Red Bull. I mean, Red Bull and Avatari are connected to one another, so I'm not surprised that they're working together here. Oh, Kermit he lost all his momentum in those final 2 corners. That's his lap just completely done. He's not going to be able to improve here. Indeed, I think you are absolutely right on that, and he is making his way in. DK, at this point, I think he is on an end lap. Is that where he actually is trying to improve? No, he's backing out here.
Oh, and Kermit is getting held up in the pits by his teammate Envy.
Yes, and there actually isn't a ton of time remaining. If these drivers want to go out and set another run, they'll want to do it within the next 2 minutes at most. Because otherwise there's going to be no time remaining. At the moment, though, Wolver's just doing a whole load of runs, and he still has plenty of fuel. I think at the moment he's just putting in a bunch of laps and just maximizing his wet tire right now and just really running through. Now, you got a message?
Bro, no, I'm trying to turn off the damn ringtone so I don't have it on anymore. Thing is, I'm in the call, so it won't turn off. Oh my god. Oh, wait, let me leave the call real quick.
Yep.
Alright, I'll be back.
Meanwhile, we have Harmony coming through. He's running through on a flying lap, and
What was that? Zipman, was that Zipman?
I think Zipman may have DNF'd as well. Yes. Wow. This is actually putting some strong contenders towards the back. Killer Boss has honestly been improving as of lately. Sugi, of course, and then Zip, they've always been kind of up there in that upper field. And the fact that they're all starting in the back, I think it's going to mean an exciting sprint. As long as they can keep it together, of course. Meanwhile, we have Harmony. He's finding improvement in Sector 1, but it's going to be their Sector 2 that's going to be the most important.
Player flipped up.
Yes, he did. He did, completely mess up there, yeah. He's trying to get back up to speed. Yeah, he needs to get out of the way very quickly because he's got that car coming up fast. And it's
Style with Harmony. He's also got Wonder Toast behind him too.
Indeed, and yeah, he is getting out of the way nicely. It's going to allow Stealth Harmony to run through. And he really is running right now. Getting a little bit close to the wall, braking as late as he possibly can here. Getting a good exit. Harmony's finding a lot of improvement here, I think. Well, we're about to see that result in Sector 2. Yep, he's found,
Big sense about.
Yeah, that is plenty of improvement. It'll be enough to get past Wonder Toast, but he's going to need even more if he hopes to get into that top 10. This final sector is going to be really important. Oh!
He fucked it.
Yep, that...
As we've seen many drivers do, they fucked it in the final turn.
Yeah,
Wow.
that is absolutely wing damage, and that is his race just... Well, not his race, rather his qualifying, just completely messed up there.
I also want to say, he got the exact same lap. His first lap and that lap he just did right there were the exact same. That's why he kept going, it didn't fit.
Yeah, but wait, is he actually going out for another run? I could have sworn he got damage.
Fuck it.
Okay, I guess he didn't get too much damage then.
If he didn't get front wing damage, even if he did get front wing damage, he could probably still go quicker right here. Because if he doesn't hit that wall, he's probably still going to go quicker. Might be a little bit harder though with no front wing though. But now we got everyone else coming out for qualifying here in the final lap. Yeti, he goes P7. Where's Kermit gonna end up here? Oh no, that's that lap. I'm dumb. Max for clapping though. Is he gonna go pole? He goes pole. By almost. I can't do math. By about 0.6. He goes pole. Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, that is. He is just proving to be a rapid throughout his entire season. He's proving it once again right now. Envy's running through though, and he's on another flyer. But so is the rest of the top 5 actually, or at least getting ready to. They're all utilizing its remaining time, but it's causing a whole lot of traffic in Sector 1. Look at the amount of cars filing their way through. This first part of Sector 1. Max is up by over 0.2 already in Sector 1 alone. He's finding a ton of improvement. Wolver is finding a lot of time as well. It's going to be really good, I think. It's going to be right down to the end to decide who is going to be taking pole. Now, Pratt in Sector 1, can he find improvement? It's going to be cutting it close to see how much he can find improvement in Sector 1. He's found 0.3 already, that is good, but Max in Sector 1 alone found 2, and he is multiple tenths ahead of Fred. I think at this point, Max is going to be pretty safely getting pole, especially since he's going to get a tow here, actually. He is going to get a bit of a tow from Kermit, and that is going to give Max a bit of an advantage, unless Kermit backs out here. But I don't think he is, because he's on a flyer of his own. But he's down by a few tenths, but that extra little tow is going to make a little bit more of a difference. Max is actually down a little bit in Sector 2, Oh, he slips a little bit. A snap of oversteer, but he managed to save the car. That was a very good save. And he is going to get a nice little tow here. But so is the other Red Bull, Envy, coming in from behind. Max is actually just going to go in. He's not finishing this lap. Envy,
Envy takes
meanwhile,
pole in the
but
155s.
that is an incredible time by Envy. And Max's mistake there, getting that simp of oversteer, I think cost him. Wolfer at the moment cannot find any improvement. Prid, though, I think he just might, because he is hard charging towards the line. Can he perhaps find enough improvement to take pole away from Envy? He
No.
can't, but he does improve enough to beat Wolfer, and that's going to put him third overall, unless Ghostly has something to say about it, because he's found half a second now in a Sector 2. If he can find a lot of time here in Sector 3, it can make a world of difference. But DK has crashed in this part of Sector 3. He's going to have to watch out for that crash McLaren. Oh, he's actually well out of the way. Never mind. But Ghostly's going to be pushing it here. At the moment, you can see, I think half the field has actually crashed here in qualifying because they're just pushing that hard. Ghostly, though, is he pushing hard enough to maybe take pole? No, he's not, but he's going to be able to start fourth ahead of Wolfer.
I also want to say Wonder Toast impeded a lot of laps there. He's probably going to get some sort of card in next race. He impeded. So I love how you said earlier, Kermit with slipstream. He did have slipstream, but Toast did not get out of the way for the corner. He stayed right in front of him and then moved. And Kermit's lap was effed up.
Yeti is finding a ton of improvement here.
Yeti. Yeti gets here.
I think Yeti is actually about 10. Like he's about 7 tenths ahead. He improves a lot. He goes into the top 5. What a qualifying! And Prid and Yeti, they're both reserve Alpine drivers. So when you think about it, Envy's on pole, and then we have 4 Alpine drivers in the next 4 slots. That just goes to show how dominant Alpine have been as a team this season. What an incredible result by Alpine and Prid and Yeti as Haas drivers reserving, but they're Div 2 Alpine drivers still. An incredible result. Kermit also in Div 2 outqualifies Wolfer. This is really exciting and an unexpected result. And I think this is going to spell for a very exciting sprint race, especially with strong forces like Suki, Tiller, Boss, and Zip starting towards the back. Now, one thing that is going to be important, though, is that in the sprint, it is going to go from wet to dry. Changing conditions are going to be essential here. Now, of course, in order to nail your strategy, you need to pit just when the track is dry enough to be safe to go out on the inters. Well, no, not inters, but slick tires, you know what I mean. But going into that, you need to be very, very careful because you need to find that right timing. And there are a lot of easy ways to tell whether it's safe or not. Like, check and see if your car is still kicking up water spray. If it is, stay out. If DRS is still disabled, it's probably best to stay out. If it's still raining, of course, stay out. Now, just because it stops raining does not mean you should immediately go into the pits. We've seen drivers in the past do that. Even though it stops raining, the track is still quite wet, and it's going to take a few laps for the track to dry out properly. So, again, like, even if it stops raining, wait a few laps and wait until the conditions are good enough. For those who nail their timing, they can gain so much time. Those who pit too early, they will find it impossible to drive. They may end up crashing, probably. And they will also just lose a whole lot of time just struggling to make their way around the track on slick tires when it's wet still. But if you pit too late, you're going to lose a whole lot of time because the inter tire is just not very fast compared to the slick tires, and they're going to gain a whole lot of time on you. So finding that perfect window is essential to getting a good result.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I'm ready for the sprint though.
Indeed,
Let's
we're
run the
getting into
formation
it
lap
right
now.
now. Yep, an interesting choice though. On the formation lap, we can see everybody's on wet tires. But Zip, interestingly enough, has chosen to go on the intermediate tires, which, in a way, I think that's not a bad idea. Because, really, he's starting at the back of the grid. Might as well take that risk, you know? Like, it wouldn't hurt, because, you know, worst case scenario, you're still at the back of the grid. But if this strategy pays off, then he's going to gain a load of positions. Now, this is going to be where something really important comes into play. Do these drivers choose to go on wet setups and that's how they went so fast? Are they on, like, kind of a middle ground setup, or are they on full dry setups? Oh! Envy hits the wall on the formation lap. Taylor Boss gets disqualified, and that's not good. Because he's on wet tires, so those things are going to be ice cold off the start, and he's going to lose ground. And while considering that he's near the back, that is not good, because he wants to try and make some moves forward. This grid, though, this is going to be very exciting. Oh, and Envy hits the wall again! He is... And he hits the wall again. He is very lucky that there is no damage on the formation lap. Otherwise, he would all... Oh, I know.
Okay.
But...
For the reaction you were given, it made it seem like he was getting lucky that there was no damage.
Well, no. I mean, I was saying, like, it is a formation lap. So it's like, if this was an actual, like, racing lap, he hits the wall again and spins. Like, again, like... I was saying, like, he's lucky that the developers programmed there to be no damage during the formation lap. Otherwise, he would be absolutely ruined right now. Actually, his teammate Kermit spins as well. And now, some drivers are actually doing this strategically to try and warm up their tires. And legitimately, like, a lot of them are Anakin in Star Wars Episode 1, and they just go, spinning's a good trick, and they do it right before the starting line to kind of warm up their tires. And legitimately, it does work. As ridiculous as it is, it actually works. And so, don't be surprised if you see some of these drivers going towards the line, do a 360 here or there. Now, Sugi, J-Joe, and Taylor Boss, they're all disqualified, so their tires may be cold as well. Taylor Boss is most certainly is. J-Joe and Sugi, I'm a little less certain on that. Yeah, you can see Envy really leaving his tires, but looks like everybody here is gathered up. Yep, you can see drivers doing a 360 here or there. Right in the background, you can see it. Just trying to get a little bit more heat into them before they get started. Oh, and that's Harmony disqualified as well as Kermit.
And Envy.
Oh, and that's not good because their grid slot is going to be reset, and they're going to be put a little bit further backward because of it. As you can see, the Hats driver, Prit, he lined up perfectly, but if you look at Envy, he's a little bit further back on his grid slot. But anyways, we're going to be getting started here in the wet weather, here at Azerbaijan for the sprint race. Wolver gets a drive-through penalty. It's a lights out and away we go. Max gets a good start, and he's going to be able to fight Envy going into turn 1, but he can't get ahead. Meanwhile...
Oh, there's a spin in the back, Alfa Romeo.
Oh, that's a massive collision immediately off the bat. Multiple drivers really far behind. Both McLarens all the way behind. And Wolver still has that drive-through penalty. The two McLarens collide, Wolver nearly going into the wall. Meanwhile, Sugi makes up a place on Harmony, and up ahead, J-Joe gets ahead of Slayer. J-Joe is moving very rapidly at the moment, all the way up into P9 after starting near the back. Meanwhile, more drivers just racing really closely here. DK overtaking Wolver, who's lost a lot of ground here, and he might have a bit of damage. He does have damage. Wolver has damage as well. Sugi overtakes his teammate Slayer. Yeah, Wolver's race is ruined at this point. Unless a safety car occurs, he's ruined. Meanwhile, Harmony is just losing so much ground at the moment. He's dropped all the way down to P16, while J-Joe is continuing to make up ground. At the same time, that's Space Burger, who's gone into the wall.
Oh, I see some front wing. That
Meanwhile,
allow that
go ahead.
mm, that has allowed the front of the pack to kind of score away, while the back of the pack is
J-Jo
now
spins
bunched
and
up together
crashes
again.
out. He actually smashed into Yeti a moment ago, but that's gonna trigger a safety car.
Boy, what happened?
So J-Jo, smacked into, Yeti trying to overtake him through the castle section, then just got a major snap of oversteer, lost control of the car, and hit it into the wall. That is gonna
Wow.
trigger a full safety car, and actually, that's really bad for Wolfer, because he can't serve his drive-through
Oh,
penalty under the safety
Sid
car.
never retired because someone hit the brakes and he slammed into him. Wonder Trust is a 5 second also.
Oh, that is...
And JJ ends his sprint race like how he ended the race last night. Wrecked.
Well, to be fair though, last night, J-Jo actually had an error, so it's unfortunate. So he's disconnected from the game, right? Tried to rejoin, but you know how in the game, there's a brief period where before you take control, the AI releases control, and there's a brief period where nobody's in control of the car and it's just going on its own, right? And that short moment, the car was going through those final two corners, hits the wall right before he takes control. Just
Mm.
horrific timing and poor luck. But yeah, it wasn't his fault. But yeah, Wolver is going to take this opportunity to go into the pits on intermediate tires, though. I'm a little bit worried because he isn't able to serve his drive-through penalty when there's a safety car, and he needs to serve the penalty within a few laps, so the game may disqualify him. I have seen this happen before, where a driver gets a drive-through penalty before a safety car, but they need to do it within a certain amount of laps, and the safety car is going to do a few laps. And that could actually get him disqualified. I hope not, and I hope he can serve that penalty, but yeah, it's going to be rough. Meanwhile, a lot of the teams are actually pretty close for the most part. Near the front, we have both Alpines, both Red Bulls, both Hasses up towards the front. You have Mercedes a little bit in the midfield, McLaren a little towards the back. And then we have a bunch of other teams just spread out with the two Aston Martins, the two Williams, and the two AlphaTauris. But yeah, it's interesting because Henny, he doesn't really have any backup here. Frid doesn't have a ton of backup at the moment, but he does have Yeti not too far behind. Ghostly and Max are in a great position right now to take the fight to Envy, and Envy has no backup at the moment. Kermit is a few places behind, and he's going to have a tough time getting through Frid, Max, and Ghostly. And I do find it interesting, though, that Wolfer chose to go on intermediate tires. The rain is starting to let up, little by little. It's not as severe as it was before, so going on the inters is not a bad idea. Meanwhile, the others, I would say it's in their best interest to just stay out on the west and not lose track position, except those towards the back, where honestly, it's not a bad idea to go in. Like, if I were Gio or Taylor, I'd go in for a set of intermediate tires, why not? Because they would only lose position to Wolfer, who has a drive-through penalty at the moment, so they would get ahead of him anyways.
Yeah, I think you're right about that with different strategies and stuff. If you're towards the back, you might as well take some sort of gamble, especially if you have to pit.
Indeed, and
But
it would give you a pace advantage because you'd be on inters, which are way faster than wet tires. The weather is clearing up, so inters are looking more promising.
yeah, you're right about that. And then I'm also thinking about for the race, like other people towards the front, they got them wet setups on, probably, or maybe even in the middle. And then people maybe towards the back, they got them dry setups. So it's gonna be a fun race. I'm gonna be honest. It's
Indeed,
gonna be
like I said
absolutely
though,
bonkers to watch this.
I do agree. Like I said though, I think it is in their best interest for all the drivers to have gone on dry setups because again, the latter part of the sprint is going to be dry and the full race is going to be dry. So I think if any of these drivers did go on a wet setup, it's not the wisest decision. Now, if you did kind of a middle of the ground setup, it's not the worst idea, but I still don't think it's great. I think the ideal setup to go for is the dry. Now, let's say the sprint was wet and the feature race was half wet. I could see a full wet setup. Absolutely. But only Quali and half the sprint is wet. Granted, I think a good portion of it is going to be wet. Actually, it's raining very minimally now. But it's going to take a good few laps for the track to clear up entirely. But yeah, the rain has nearly completely stopped, and there's confirmation safety car is going to be in this lap. Now, Wolfer is going to have a very good advantage here. However, again, he has to serve that drive-through penalty. But yeah, the track is not nearly as severe as it was before in terms of weather, that is.
Yeah, you're right about that. Now that I'm looking at it, the rain is severely less than what it was at the start. So I think people are on the inters now, which is what's one actually. Was more before, but they wrecked out. Oh, Rolfer! Holy shit! Whoever's in the Alpha. Oh, my bad for swearing, but
It's alright.
Gio slammed the brakes in front of Taylor, and Wolfer almost just slammed into the back of Taylor.
It's okay. We can do a little bit of swearing here and there. Just I do not want to face the wrath of the YouTube gods. But anyways, we're getting back on our way. A lot of places have been gained and lost. Gio immediately goes in. Wolfer stays out. I'm surprised he didn't go immediately and serve his drive-through penalty, because he could have gone and done that. Gone and done that. For some reason, I forgot how to speak for a moment. Anyways, Sugi is actually showing a lot of speed. Yeah, he's making that move on Yeti, but Yeti's now getting a little bit more streamlined speed. Sugi's going to send it, going to the corner, braking very late, but manages to make it. Sugi's now up to 7th place. Meanwhile, we have DK making a move on Harmony. He gets ahead. Harmony losing a lot of ground again until their boss finds himself ahead. Meanwhile, Wolfer is actually struggling. Maybe the Inter was not the best choice after all, because you can see Wolfer just struggling to keep up a little bit here, but I think soon the Inter is going to lock in to be a much better tire. At the moment, though, it's not looking the best. You can see Wolfer losing a lot of time here. Now, at the moment, it may not seem like a great idea, but I think it will be a gamble that will pay off within the next couple of laps when the track gets a little bit better, as the wet tire deteriorates and becomes much slower. So they need to do their best to keep close to that field if they want this gamble to count.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I have nothing really to add to that, to be honest, but you know, I'm just looking through the grid right now, and I see that the Haas drivers, Alpine Div 2 drivers, the Haas drivers this week, though, for Div 1, they are doing actually pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, they are doing
P8
quite
and
well.
P4.
Credit's actually catching up to Max here. He's losing a little bit of time on the straight line, but Evie right now is leading with the fastest lap. Yeti doing his best to close ground to the cars in front. Meanwhile,
Slayer's pitting.
I think he may have lane damage. I could be wrong, but if he is, if I were him, I'd prep a set of intermediate tires. Yes, he does have damage, and he is going in for a set of, is that full wets? That is full wets. I honestly think the Enter would have been a better choice. I actually think the track is going to remain wet until the end of the race. Except for maybe the final lap. At that point, I'd rather just stay out. Even if the track is dry, because losing so much time in the pits, not really worth it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I'm watching Taylor Boss here and DK battle it out right now. I want to see what the end of this battle will look like. And it ended up being nothing so far.
Well, there can't really be much overtaking in Sector 2 at the moment. It's very hard to overtake here unless you have a significantly higher pace in the car in front, and even then, you need to choose your move wisely. For example, you don't want to go side by side through this corner. It's impossible. People have tried and have failed.
Also, there's some front wing there. I think the Haas lost his front wing.
Oh, that's really bad news for Yeti.
The Haas is doing so good.
And Taylor's going to try to take advantage, overtaking here, and he does manage to complete the move. Again, like, unless you have a significantly higher pace, don't try to make a move. But Taylor did have significantly higher pace, and so could get away with the move.
Wolfer broke his front wing.
Actually,
no, not Wolfer, DK.
Yep. That's unfortunate. Wait. hold up a second. DK still has its wing. We saw a
Wait,
full
no, it doesn't.
front wing
Oh, what the
detachment.
fuck?
He had a full
Huh?
wing detachment, and yet still has his wing. What? Is it Wonder Toast that's missing his wing? It is Wonder Toast, actually, not Wolfer. Or
Oh.
DK, my bad. Wait, Envy's going into the pits. It's a strategy call. He's going in for a set of intermediate tires.
So is Wonder.
Well, Wonder Toast has a missing front wing, so he doesn't have much of a choice.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Yeti is also going in. Again, not much of a choice. Envy, though, I think that was a mistake. Because we don't have a ton of laps remaining, so unless he can really carve his way through the field, it's going to be a poor strategy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have no clue what you decided to put there.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's a one-stop, well, or really, rather, no-stop.
Oh, the Williams.
Never mind, that's a safety car. That is actually completely
It's a
ruined
safety car.
Envy. That is
Oh, he
completely...
pulls the strategy out of his ass. Oh, wait, and he stopped. Envy just stopped on track.
Yep.
Oh, and now you on.
Oh, I know why. The safety car
Oh,
Delta...
the little, yeah, the
yeah,
stupid glitch.
yeah, that
Everyone
glitch...
else stopped too.
Yeah, that glitch is ridiculous, but that's really bad
Okay,
news
wow.
for Envy, because all the people in front of him are gonna get a free pit stop. All of them. They're gonna get it free. And their tires are gonna be a little bit fresher, which could make a difference. Now, actually, Envy is catching up relatively quickly, but he has to maintain his delta. But if I were Ghostly, I would make my way into the pit as quick as I possibly can. And hope that I come out ahead of Envy. And I think it is quite possible because, again, it's a free pit stop. DK gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car.
Man.
Yep, that's going to drop him all the way to the back. Wolfer can actually stay out, so he may gain a position here or there. But Wonder Toast goes ahead of him as Wolfer's going slowly, and Wonder Toast has to back out there. And Ghostly is taking his time, trying to remain in that good delta. Actually, I do think Ghostly has enough of a window to get himself ahead of Envy. I think there is enough of a gap. Actually, we can check on that right now with the leader gap. 19 seconds, I think that is enough. At least for Ghostly. For Max, I'm a little less certain. Wolfer is gonna... he retired on track. I guess he crashed. Oh, that's unfortunate for Wolfer. Kermit gets a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Prid. Wait, Sugi's choosing to stay out? That's a risky call, but I think that was actually not a bad call at all. Because with everybody struggling to catch up, we are going to get going until the final lap. If Sugi can defend for just one lap, he could win the sprint. Yeah, that's actually not a bad call. It's a risk. It's absolutely a risk. But I think it could pay off. Max, actually, because he pitted so early behind his teammate, lost time in the pit lane, and now he's stuck in 7th place. Suddenly, this entire race is flipped on its head, and Sugi could very well win it. At the very least, I do think he has a good shot at the podium. Actually, the safety car could go in this lap. I have seen it happen before, but usually the game requires 2 laps of a full safety car. But considering that it's near the end of the race, it can make an exception.
If only there was a feature where we could just end it under safety car.
Yeah, while we're at it, let's add red flags. Actually, no, let's not, because we'd be here all day. But, well, as long as we can skip the time during the red flag, I'd be okay with it. Because I would know.
It would be like one of the old F1 games.
Yeah.
Say like, oh, all these cars crashed, now we're restarting the race from like lap 3. There you go. Well, we're gonna see what happens off of the safety car. Everyone's probably gonna be bunched up. No, not probably, definitely gonna be bunched up. Safety car is in this lap. 2 people with penalties. We got, I think that's Kermit. Yeah, Kermit and DK.
Sugi has 2 laps to defend for his life if he hopes to win the race, and I doubt he's winning this sprint. If he had 1 lap, Maybe. But 2 laps? No, I don't think so. That Inter is just going to be too fast. Sugi is going to drop down like a brick in these 2 laps, unfortunately. I think he can still maybe get sprint race points, but that's about it. It's going to be very rough, but at the very least, he does have the advantage of leading them off the start. But you can see everybody ready to go behind him, and
Ooh, and he screwed it up.
Henny jumped the gun as well, up into 4th as to back off, down into 5th. Sugi is going to go into the start. Ghostly hits him, takes himself out,
Oh my.
and that's going to cause a massive, almost a massive pileup there. Water Toast.
People.
That's Taylor out of the race as well. Prit is leading the sprint race right now.
Oh my god.
What chaos has just occurred? Sugi hooked himself ahead of Gio and Yeti, but that crash has just completely changed the shape of the race, and at the moment, the entire race has just fallen in Prit's lap. He could very well win the sprint race here at Baku.
And he's right behind, or not right, even right behind him. And he's got to go fast if he wants to catch.
Indeed.
And he has Envy right behind him. Envy is probably going to catch Henny and maybe catch Prid, but I don't know about Prid though.
Henny's moving as quickly as he can, but he's struggling a lot with overs here. You can see his car slipping and sliding like it's Tokyo Drift, and it's just not doing him any favors. DK shoves his way past Kermit. Kermit has to take the runoff. And I think did he reset the track or did he back up? I also couldn't tell there. But yeah, DK practically shoved Kermit out of the way. Just muscled his way past. Yeah, I think that makes sense. It looked like he did. I couldn't tell if he did or not. But meanwhile, we have Slayer catching up to Sugi and could potentially make a move.
A lot of front wing off that corner.
Prid, though, he's got a massive advantage. He's got 2 seconds on the next car behind him. Meanwhile, wait, that's DK with a broken front wing. And that's going to cost him a lot of time going into the corners. DK's going to have to run very carefully or risk hitting the wall again. And he does scrape a little bit. That's going to lose him a lot of time on the straights. But with the broken front wing, he has much less downforce, actually. So that could give him a bit of an advantage.
Oh my god, look at all that downforce. Or lack of downforce of that.
Yep.
Wonder Toast, well, he ended up the inside of...
He's going
Rogue.
for...
He's trying it.
He's almost succeeding, and Wonder Toast just might succeed. He does, and he gets ahead of DK as well. What a move from Wonder Toast. That was really well executed. Yeah, that nearly ended in disaster, but that was good racing from Wonder Toast. Meanwhile, Sugi has fought back well. He's back up into the points now, and I think he has enough pace to get past Rogue. But that's his teammate trying to overtake him, can't find a way through. Meanwhile, DK, with a broken front wing, overtakes Slayer.
It's back in the points. DK's just got to defend. Ooh, and the Mercedes sends it.
Oh, that's...
And he's going to keep the visit. Ooh, he tapped it.
And
Gio almost spun off the corner.
That nearly ended in disaster. Slayer, he's pushing as hard as he can. He wants to try and overtake DK here. DK oversteps a little bit. Slayer's going to try to make a move on the outside. Are they actually about to go side by side here? Okay, DK back down. Ooh, that is a sigh of relief right there. Suki, meanwhile, is going to be up into 7th now, chasing after Rogue. Envy chasing after Henny, trying to get that second set of the podium. Henny defending for his life. This race is going to come down to a very close finish as Slayer also has to defend from DK and Gio and Kermit all right behind. Meanwhile, sailing off into the distance for the first time in Division 1. Oh, Max crashed into the wall. He's out. Meanwhile, his Division 2 driver goes across the line. Prid wins the sprint race here in Baku. Henny second, Envy just third. Wonder Toast coming up to be just outside the podium on 4th. Sugi chasing, unable to make an overtake.
Get the spot on DK. DK's gonna get points. Wait, DK's pit. DK went to AI. He pit. And Kermit gets a 5-second penalty. Wait, Gio gets points because Kermit's 5-second penalty.
Yeah, that was an incredible sprint race. Just from beginning to end, no idea what was going to happen. Sugi gets driver of the day with the silliest expression I have ever seen. Like, anyways, Grid, Division 2, reserve driver, comes across the line to take victory here in the sprint. An incredible result for him, and that means he's going to take pole position going to the feature race. Penny second, Envy third, followed up by Wonder Toast, Rogue, Sugi, Slayer, and Geo, finishing in the points. That was an incredible sprint, and we're going to be looking even more forward now to the feature race, and we're going to be seeing that soon. We'll be seeing you all then.